Hey, you must be Lucas. Come on in.
Which piano do I sit at?
You can sit at this one here on the right.
Okay.
Beautiful. Are you excited for your first piano lesson? Great. Well, let's start learning to read. Come and have a look at the book. We're going to start to learn G. So, Lucas, your first piano lesson. I reckon we should get started.
Oh, well, can I show you something?
Oh, yeah, okay.
My mum taught me this. Oh, no.
Oh, no, stop. I don't want to hear that at the moment. We've got to work on your technique first, okay?
Okay.
Hey, Lucas, what is that?
It's a song called Happy. Everyone loves it right now.
Where did you learn it?
YouTube?
No, we don't learn things on YouTube. Back to the music.
Rocket launching. Oh, my God. Okay, this is boring. Hey, Tim, can I learn this?
Stranger Things theme? Where'd you find this?
Online.
No. We don't have time to learn this kind of thing in this studio. Okay, so we've got a few things that we've got to work on. What happened to the pedal here? We need to remember the pedaling on each one here. And we've got 3 flats in the key. So we've got to remember that all these E's are flat. You keep missing out on them. It sounds terrible. I don't know why you can't actually just hear that that's wrong. And we talked about dynamics last week. Where's the dynamics changing here and these phrase marks? Of course, we've got to make sure that the ends of the phrase are balanced and phrased off. Well, I hope you enjoyed that satirical look at some of the things that teachers could easily fall into the trap of doing wrong in their piano lessons, particularly with new beginner students. Hi, I'm Topham, and in today's video, I want to actually recap each of those 5 scenes and unpack some other options, some other ways of thinking about approaching the student and what you do with the lessons with that child. And the whole goal around this is to really make sure that we're inspiring, motivating, and thrilling our students as much as we can while we have to do the hard work, where we're keeping it interesting each and every lesson, and particularly that we're taking on board things that they want to do, music they want to learn, and trying to incorporate that into our lessons. All right, so let's take a look again at scene 1, and then I'll come back and talk about it. Hey, you must be Lucas. Come on in.
Which piano do I sit at?
You can sit at this one here on the right.
Okay.
Beautiful. Are you excited for your first piano lesson? Great. Well, let's start learning to read. Come and have a look at the book. We're going to start to learn G. So what's the issue with this scene? Well, it's the focus on reading from the very first lesson. So Lucas has just come, he's brand new, I don't know, he's probably 8, 9 or 10-year-old. And the first thing we're doing is putting him in front of an instrument, opening a book and encouraging him to learn to read. What's the problem with this? Well, the main issue is that reading really, if you look at music as a language acquisition skill, reading should be coming way down the track. We never learn to read a language first. We write and we babble and we we don't write. We babble and we improvise and we talk and we copy and imitate. They're all the things that we do for a long time before we get to reading, and then finally we might get to writing. So bringing a student into the lesson, throwing a book in front of them right at the start and teaching them how to read, in my opinion, totally the wrong way to go. There are so many more interesting things that you could possibly be doing. First thing, obviously, building rapport is very important. But the most fun thing I like to do with students in that first lesson before anything else is just find out what they want to play. It is very rare that a student will come into a piano lesson having never tried to play the instrument before. It's normally because the parent has seen some interest, they've heard music going on, or the child's been trying to play what they hear on radio, or they've jumped on an app or something like that, that they've started to learn things. So one of the most important things we need to do as teachers is ask them, what would you like to play? And that is the issue with scene 2. So let's have a look at scene 2 now. So Lucas, your first piano lesson, I reckon we should get started.
Oh, well, can I show you something?
Oh, yeah, okay.
My mum taught me this. Oh, no.
Oh, no, stop. I don't want to hear that at the moment. We've got to work on your technique first, okay?
Okay.
We all know that technique is really important. There's no doubt about it. It has to be the focus of our lessons. But does it have to be the focus of lesson 1 or 2 or even 3? I would say no. It can wait. Elements of it you can bring into lessons right from the beginning, but the most important thing to do at the start is to build rapport, to make a connection with your student, and to allow them fun and interaction with the instrument and with you in that first lesson. So when a student comes in, encourage them to play something for them. You might hear this. You might hear this. You might hear this. Or this. It doesn't really matter what it is, how simple or how difficult. Use that as a jumping block for something creative and some exciting activities that you can do around it. You can play along on a second piano. You might be able to turn a drum beat on. Whatever it is, encourage, be delighted that they're playing. Even if you've heard Chopsticks 100,000 times, it's still the first time with them in your lesson. Now, if you're interested in creative ways to start piano lessons for any age student and any different level of ability, then make sure you have a look in the links below in the description. I've popped a link to one of my popular blog posts. It's called 20 Creative Ways to Start a Lesson. The other thing I want to send you a link to, which is down below, is my beginner lesson plan. So I have a whole framework around how I teach beginners in a creative way. It's called No Book Beginners, and it's about teaching beginner students without books for up to 10 weeks. I've got the first few lesson plans there ready for you to have a look at. So grab the link below and go and explore that with your students. I guarantee you will have not only a student that's more motivated and interested in lessons, but down the track, they're actually going to be far more musical because of those things that we're doing, the foundational musicality skills that we're doing in those first few lessons, rather than going straight to reading a book. Okay, let's check out scene 3. Hey Lucas, what is that?
It's a song called Happy. Everyone loves it right now.
Where did you learn it?
YouTube?
No, we don't learn things on YouTube. Back to the music.
Rocket launching. Oh my god.
Okay, put your hand up if YouTube really frustrates you. I know a lot of hands go up for a lot of teachers, but I really want to encourage you to reconsider that. YouTube is here to stay. The internet is here to stay. Learning online is the way kids are going to be learning more and more. They don't actually need us to teach them where to put their fingers on what notes. What we need to teach them is musicality and technique and interpretation, performance, all of those kinds of things. The actual mechanics of learning to read something or copying someone else reading something, that can be done in a whole number of different ways. And I think it'll become increasingly common that we'll see computers and apps doing a lot of that grunt work for us, which leaves us to be able to do more of the creative side of things, which I think is really great. So if a student comes in wanting to show you something from YouTube, don't stop them. That's a really good thing. Encourage it. If you try and stop it, they're going to do it anyway. So you might as well go with the flow and use that as something that you can connect with the student on, and use it as a learning experience, a musical learning experience where you can go, oh, that looks pretty good, but that fingering looks really difficult. Why don't we work out a better way to do that? Or you seem to be playing this really, really loud. Why don't we bring some dynamics into it? Or that's a cool section of the song, but what about if we improvised a beginning, or we created a chord progression based on that idea for your own improvising and music making work? So there's lots of different ways you can go about it. Try to really embrace YouTube and the things that students are learning on there. It may drive you kind of up the wall, but in the long run, it's going to be something that really builds connection between you and your student, and that's a really good thing. Okay, let's check scene 4.
Okay, this is boring. Hey Tim, can I learn this?
Stranger Things theme? Where'd you find this?
Online.
No, we don't have time to learn this kind of thing in this studio. Now, there could have been a couple of things that I said as a teacher in this. One is that's way too hard for you to read now, so we're going to put that away for the next 10 years until you can actually read it. Or, as I did in this, say, look, we don't have time for that. My studio is really busy. I've only got 30 minutes with you. We've got a concert next week, and then you're going for that exam in 2 months, and you're playing at this recital at school and this assembly. There's no time for that. Let's focus on the music that you're reading and the exam work that you're doing. It's a really common situation for us to be in, particularly when we have short lessons. So one sort of consideration here is to really work out what your goal is for students moving forward. If your goal is to make them an incredible concert pianist who can pass exams and perform in Stedfords and festivals and competitions, then maybe that is the right approach. It's just, if it's off the internet, no, I haven't got time, go to another teacher for that or learn it yourself. However, if you're the kind of teacher that really is interested in developing an all-rounded type of music student, one that can play from different styles, can improvise and can accompany other students and play in the rock band and do some jazz and do some classical and things like that, then maybe the opportunity to learn something that comes from online is a really great thing. One of the best things about these horrendous arrangements that students bring into lessons is that we can use it as a way to teach students about how to simplify music back down to the harmony and the chords. And I do that with students in lessons, rather than taking it away and creating my own transposition, which can take hours. It's not something I enjoy doing. It's not something any of us have time for. So actually teach them how to simplify things that they find online in a lesson. You only need to spend a few minutes. They will love you forever for it. They will value that you are putting an effort in to the things that they want to learn, and they're more likely then to give you the time and the focus on the things that you want them to do as well. All right, and let's have a look at the last scene. And this is a scene where Lucas is obviously a slightly more experienced player.
Okay, so we've got a few things that we've got to work on. What happened to the pedal here? We need to remember the pedaling on each one here. And we've got 3 flats in the key. So we've got to remember that all these E's are flat. You keep missing out on them. It sounds terrible. I don't know why you can't actually just hear that that's wrong. And we talked about dynamics last week. Where's the dynamics changing here and these phrase marks? Of course, we've got to make sure that the ends of the phrase are balanced and phrased off. And
so in this sense, Lucas has just finished playing for me, the teacher, and what have I done? I've launched into all the stuff that's wrong, and just a verbal diarrhea, everything that's wrong. Now I know teachers aren't this bad, but there are elements of many teachers that I've seen in this clip, and that is that when students finish playing, regardless of whether we say that's good or bad, is kind of irrelevant. It's what then happens, and it's the fault correcting part of teaching that I think deserves a bit of a rethink. What I want to encourage teachers more and more to do is to ask questions. So rather than jump in and say the dynamics, you forgot the dynamics here, we were doing this last week, how could you forget that? It'd be more like, can you remember what we were working on last week? What is one element of the piece that we can really focus on in the next week that's going to bring something alive? You could jump onto your piano or their piano and actually play it all at forte level and say, what's the problem with that? Or all really quiet level and say, we need changes in dynamics to make things interesting and to give shape and life to music. So there's just a couple of examples of that, but asking them questions, so what key is this in? Okay, it's in E flat. Okay, so let's play the E flat major scale. Let's do a little bit of revising on that. So what are the 3 flats? Okay, well let's play that first bar, and I want you to really listen out for anything that sounds a bit weird, and just take them through a journey. I know this takes longer than just going, okay, you played that wrong, this is wrong, the flat's missing, blah blah blah. But it's a much more engaging experience, and the best part is that it's making your students think. And we want students who think in our lessons, because they're going to have to do that when they're practicing. If all we do in our lessons, particularly with those intermediate, early advanced students, is come in and fault correct, then they're always going to be looking to us to fault correct. And we don't want that. We want them to do that so that we can work on the next level stuff, the interpretation, the performance skills, delivering, talking about your music, all of those kinds of things, which are far more important, really, than just being a fault correcting device. So I hope that was helpful. I would love to hear any comments you've got. Can you see yourself or your past self in any of those clips, or have you seen other teachers do it? Let me know below, and if you've got any questions as well. And I'm just going to leave you with one clip, which I hope sums up the direction we're not going with our piano lessons. I'll see you next time.
Yes!
Yo, wait up before you go. I would love for you to check out some of my other videos. I'm going to put a link to one of them right here. And if you haven't yet explored my blog, then make sure you do check that out. If you've enjoyed this video, you're going to love some of the resources I put out over there, and we're going to put a link to that on this screen as well. Until next time, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel so we can send you updates as soon as they come out, and I will see you later. Have a great week.